my friends, welcome back to the channel. It's Nat Walsh here with you today. I am playing with Floral Frames number 4 and number 6. I've also got the Happy Birthday Thanks Inky sentiment stamp, and I've got some slimline card packs. So we've got the card and we've got the envelope to match with it. I am placing my little frames, just making sure. I did fluff around with this a fair bit and wanting to make sure that they were nice and straight, and I just used the grid on my Misty to make sure that this was all sort of even up and ready to go. I took my time. I honestly did. I mean, you could have, stamp these down, cut them out, and just place them down individually, but I just wanted a sort of a flat layer. It's not going to be completely flat because we're going to add another layer in underneath it. I've stamped them out with some black ink that is Copic friendly, and yes, we're going to colour this with Copics. I'm just going to, this sentiment is very fine and very sweet. I am just going to stamp this down with a little bit of black ink, and the card's pretty simple, but the flowers are really pretty, and I'm going to just do some simple colouring. I've got 3 colours, I will admit that. So we've got BG17, BG30. I am using the darkest around the base of the bluebell. Every photo I looked at was it's sort of bluebell, but they really look like a purpley blue to me. So that's what we're going with. The last colour I've got is BG02, where the little bluebells sort of dip in. And it's hard to explain to you, but I wanted to make sure that the little flowers had an eye. There was an idea that it was going to have a bit of dimension to it, a bit of interest. These top ones I'm not worrying about too much because we're going to have the majority of colours. Just nice and fun. So you'll see how the third one, if you go that one there, it dips down, so to speak. If you can imagine it having just sort of dipping down, so it's going where in the drawing the parts sort of like are curved up. I go that they are like in a skirt sort of thing, you have movement and that sort of thing. So it has, I'm trying to find a way to explain it clearly, because it's not an easy thing. Once you start playing with it, you can sort of get the idea of where it is. But when you draw, if you have a line that sort of goes up the page and then comes down, in that downward motion, that is where the dip is going to be. So if you can see the flower where I'm working now, the very outer edge, it's got a very clear defined dip in and a clear defined dip, like movement out. It's where it goes in. Everyone does it differently. You could do it either way, having the part that goes out being the part that is the downward motion, but I tend to make it the up. Not the up. I tend to make the part that is drawn to go outwards, the part that is, the lower part of the flower. Does that make any sense? Do you get what I'm trying to talk to you about? It's a lot of practice and a lot of playing around. With this flower, I'm going to use the V15, the B02 and the B00. The 15 is going to give it a much more of a real, shall we say, muted I'm going to call it a muted purple, whereas the O's and the double O's, I feel like they're a little bit more brighter. But this is going to have some variation, have a little bit of difference. Can you see? It's hard to see because it's a small flower and my hands get in the way. But the V15 is sort of a bit on the muted side compared to the O2 and the double O. It took me a little while to colour in these flowers. The bluebells were easy. They're simple sort of thing. These ones had a lot of movement to it and a lot of interest basically. But if you take your time and just play, no one is going to come after you and go, you needed to colour that a little bit differently. So enjoy the process and just get colouring. Because if you do the opposite of what I've just told you, no one's going to know. They're just going to see a pretty flower. So yeah, I just want to encourage you to get out there and colour with your Copics. I keep telling, I do teach, and I know I found it really hard to explain to you because I can't use my finger to point to what I'm talking about because I'm just engrossed in colouring it, and in a class situation I can. But everyone wants to think that they can get it done and it can be beautiful first time around. And think back, well, I can't think back to when I was a kid, but I used to work in a school, and of course, you know, little kids, they colour and they get their fist all around it and they just make zigzag lines all over the page, and you don't end up seeing any of the picture because, you know, they're getting in there. And then you get later on, you know, the kids get a little bit more fine skills, and then you slowly progress and you get better. You need to practice with it, and it's the same going for art. You're not going to get stunning results the first time you do anything. I have a little bit of purple cardstock here. I am going to cut it beautifully, and when I put my foam on, something, or like when I attach it here, this part right here, something goes very, very screwy. I have no idea what on earth I did, but it is a little bit wonky. So we're going to need to clear that off. Now I do have a stamping mat, a silicone mat on my craft desk just for stamping. I'm trying to give a bit of a crack at this white background, although at the moment I'm really digging the black again. I'm going to trim down this. It's going to take me a little while, but I'm going to make it shorter for you. And I'm just trimming down my purple cardstock, so I'm going to have a very fine slither of purple, which is going to be beautiful and is going to work, and so it's all good. I've got glue, just going to put that down flat on my card base. We've got a nice little border, and the lucky last thing I'm going to do is a little bit of clear sequins from my stash. I'm going to use a little bit of a wet glue and position them around just to tie each. It just needs a little something to finish it off. I'm going to, these two that are in the middle are going to go. They're not going to, I'm going to decide that I don't particularly want them. But this is what I tend to do. I fuss about with the positioning of things, which I don't really, I like to see the thought process with people. So I like to show you, shall we say, warts and all. I like to show you when I stuff it, and like putting cardstock on completely crooked, and when I don't. That is my card for today. If you haven't yet subscribed, we'd be honoured to have you subscribe to our channel. I hope to see you very, very soon. Take care. See you next time. Bye.